Being joined by none other than India's ace banker KV Kamath, chairman of the new BRICS Development Bank. Thank you very much, Mr. Kamath, for keeping your date with us right here at ET Now on our 7th anniversary. We're delighted to have you on the channel. You've, of course, been a long supporter of what we do here. So thank you very much for your continued support. But let's hear from you on our 7-year journey, sir.
Congratulations on your 7th anniversary. It's been 7 eventful years. The country has gone through a lot of change, and you have covered it brilliantly. I wish you not 7 more years, not 70 more years, 700 years more success.
Right. Mr. Kamath, let's talk about the global picture first and then get down to our own macros. The world is witnessing an uncertain climate over the possibility of a Brexit. The vote is, of course, next week, next Wednesday. What do you think will be the potential impact if a Brexit were to happen?
Well, this is something that the British people need to work out. I could put it this way, that you have a very interesting scenario where I think big business and the financial services business believes that Britain should be in, and small business and maybe people who believe their jobs are impacted want an exit. I'm sure the populace will vote as they think appropriate. Beyond that, it would be not right for me to comment.
Right. Mr. Kamath, let's talk about India now. There is a massive debate here on growth levels, whether India is indeed growing at over 7%. Many economists are now beginning to doubt the integrity of this number, or the way it's being achieved, if not the integrity. Which side of the argument do you find favor with? Are you skeptical of the fact that we are growing at 7%? Do you think that, does it feel like 7% when you talk to people in corporate India? What's the sense that you get?
Well, I don't want to be on any side of the argument. I can only talk based on my historical experience, because I do not know the situation today, that closely. But from the past, I always believed that our growth was always undercounted, and I used to articulate it sometimes in a lighter vein, that we have 3 categories of growth. We have the counted growth, we have the uncounted growth, and we have the unaccounted growth. So I would believe that if all 3 are counted, we would certainly be ticking at a pace higher than what is actually put out.
All right, so we could actually be growing at higher levels, and that's a big vote of confidence coming in from someone like you. But how does the inflation trajectory change the monetary policy contour? What sort of an elbow room does Governor Rajan really have to reduce rates? We've seen the recent spike in inflation, thanks, of course, to the food prices here.
Well, I think monetary policy authority's job, in this case it is the governor or the Reserve Bank, is never easy. And I'm sure we have a person who will take all aspects into consideration and do what is right for the country. And I believe that's what he has been doing throughout his tenure. And I'm sure he'll continue to do that. It's not for me to say anything more.
All right, so while he continues to do that, he's also perhaps looking at yet another challenge, and that's the massive cleanup drive that the government and the RBI have together launched as far as India's banks are concerned. Some people are losing sleep over the future of banking in India. Are you someone who believes that the toxic assets do pose a systemic risk to India's banking system?
Let me upfront say that these do not pose a systemic risk. And you may ask why. The answer is very simple. You go back to about 15 years, and I will start with both India and China as examples. India did have a bad debt problem, and I would say that the balance sheets of banks were significantly smaller, but the problem was no less smaller. The problem got resolved through putting back these assets into productive use. At that point in time, restructuring methodology was used, but also, and this is very important, also there was a massive cut in interest rates. The government bond, which was trading at around 11%, dropped to I think half, 6%. So as a result, a whole lot of activities could be done at, I would say, very low interest rates. The banks got a, I would say, boost by starting lending afresh to corporates at much more attractive rates. The corporates became healthier. The banks also got a window to lend to for retail purposes. And if you recollect, mortgage which was 15% came down to 8%, and that drove economy. So I would think there is a hidden lining here. If rates move in the right direction and these assets are put back to productive use through an appropriate restructuring exercise, you will see an immediate uptick in industrial production, you will see an immediate uptake in the economy, and you will also see a strong driver on the retail front. So I'm not that worried. That was India. I think Chinese example at that point of time was, I would think, something that is that we need to keep note of. What happened then? They cleaned up their balance sheets of the banks and put these assets into ARCs. And over time, these ARCs were able to get these assets either productive or sell the land, recover their investment. So there are very many solutions available. The only place where there is no solution is when there is no underlying asset. In that case, it is better that the cleanup is done as fast as possible. Where there is an underlying asset, I think all effort should be made to put it back into productive use. As a developing country, we do not have the luxury to let an asset which is not productive because of various challenges idle, rust and die away. It has to be put back to productive use. And I'm sure under the current scenario, that is what is being planned by the various authorities.
Right. Mr. Kamath, do you believe too much noise is being made out of this whole NPA mess? And is it natural for an economy like India to have highly leveraged corporate balance sheets? How do you weigh in on this whole debate that's going on right now as far as the NPA controversy is concerned?
If you go back in time again, 15 to 17 years, corporate balance sheets used to be very highly leveraged. Total debt to equity was probably 3.7:1. Post the cleanup that I mentioned, corporates deleveraged very rapidly, and the debt to equity ratio came down to probably 1.5:1. I would think there is a need to get leverage down, because leverage in this case is a sharp sword which is cutting into the corporate's ability to perform. So we need to deleverage, and the corporates will have to see how to do it. Bringing in more equity, diluting their stake, or where necessary, the banks bringing in new sponsors, as what is currently being articulated. Various solutions possible, and I'm sure in rapid time these solutions will be worked out.
Fair enough. Let's move away from NPAs, Mr. Kamath, and talk about the broader picture. How do you assess 2 years of this Modi government, which came to power on a whole, massive expectations, and the sense that one gets is that slowly impatience is creeping in as far as corporate India is concerned. Are you happy with the pace of reforms, or did you expect faster and more swift decision making as far as economic issues are concerned over the last 2 years?
I would look at it this way. Clearly there was a logjam in the first 2 years, which none of us expected, for various reasons which I won't go into. I would think despite that logjam, the government has done extremely well. If you look at what the balance sheet is in terms of a report card, as it were, for the 2 years which the government itself put out, I think you need to compliment the government on achieving performance given the constraints nobody could have expected. I'm sure with the clouds lifting, as it were, on the logjam, we will see accelerated growth during the coming years under this government.
Mr. Kamath, because you've been an ace banker yourself and you've dealt with the RBI, I can't obviously let you go this evening without asking you the question that has gripped Indian industry and investors alike. The question about, will Raghuram Rajan stay or is he going to go? Do you believe, as somebody who has a pie and is a stakeholder in the Indian economy, that there is a case and there's merit in an extension for the RBI governor?
Clearly, from an external point of view, I think Mr. Rajan has done a very good job, which everybody has lauded. And beyond that, this is for me not to comment, and this is probably between the government and the leadership.
Right, Mr. Kamath, thank you so much for joining in with that perspective today. It's a special day for us, and we really appreciate you joining us and doing that rare interview
Thank you.
on our 7th anniversary. Thank you so much, sir.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.